high-tech PowerPoint. But what if I'm wrong continued, or part 2? So you were kind enough to answer my 3 questions. For some of you that were not here on the 27th, we'll kind of get you up to speed on what I'm bringing up here in a couple seconds. But the whole premise was, what if I'm wrong? And I got to thinking about that because it's our perception or how we see things. And so I wanted to share a picture with you. And you'll see something in the picture. Take a mental note of what you saw. What did you see? What did you see? Grace, what did you see in the picture?
I see an old lady.
An old lady. That's interesting. How many people here saw an old lady?
I see a big widow.
How about a young lady? Whoa, wait a minute. How can that be? How can this picture be a picture of an old lady, but also a picture of a young lady with pearls? See, it's the perception, and you want to see that again?
I see the pearls.
Oh, where's the pearls at? I'm sorry. I got to
see a
think about
choker.
old
I see a
ladies.
choker.
Oh,
Oh, no, I see the old
pearls
one.
underneath, right,
Now I
yes,
see the
yes.
old one. I see the old
Had to think about this for a minute.
I
I
knew
had
she
to-
was there, I just couldn't find her.
She's there, right?
Oh, I see her now.
But we see her 2 different ways. It's the perception of how we see that. And so it's interesting that the results that we had from our little informal poll, because over the last couple weeks I've spent a lot of time with different agents. And I asked them the same questions that I asked you. And so here's the results of my informal poll. You may remember that the first question was the value. When you're looking at insurance, do you look at value or do you look at price? Which I find interesting because the TGIF group said 40% value, 60% price. And yet when I looked at the agents and they're trying to provide value and not focus on the price. See, it's upside down a little bit. Is it the old lady? It depends on who we're talking to. And understanding from both sides, how do we position, how do we take this difference and bring it together? So that was number 1. Number 2, did you focus on the agent first and then the company second? Or did you focus on company first and then the agent was just whoever was close or whoever I got on an 800 line? And so in this group today, 65% said it was agent focused and company second. And I thought this number would even be higher because I'm talking with agents and I think the agent thinks that they should be, I thought that would be closer to 90%, but it wasn't. But they're interesting that they're close. So that's kind of in line. That's in line. But I find that, once again, what's their perception? What's your perception of the agent, but what's the agent's perception of you? And how do we tie that together? How do we bring that so that we're on the same page? Last question. This was a 3-part question. If you had a rate increase on your insurance premium at 10%, would you leave? Is that a pain point? Would you leave the company or start to look other places? 26% of the group here says, you bet, that's it, I'm out of here, 10% increase. Agents said 20%. So we're pretty much in line with what the agent's thinking, what this group thinks as well. 20%, the pain gets a little bit sharper, and so at that point, half this group leaves. And yet agents are still thinking that's not a big enough pain point. And the last one says would never leave. Doesn't matter what happens. I like my relationship with the advisor, the agent, and I really trust that they're doing the right thing. And in that situation, 17% of this group said we will not leave. And yet at the other side, 50% of the agents said we wouldn't bring more value. And so as I started pulling all of the numbers together, I thought, what are we talking about here? What is the process? And I come back to this three-legged stool. Because in the absence of value, price becomes the focus. If we're not providing good quality or service, price becomes the focus. And I think in some respects, and I'm going to say Johnson County or even Overland Park or Kansas City, I don't want to pay too much, but I don't want to be cheap either. I want good value. So if I can take, I'm willing to pay a little extra, but I got to get the value and quality with it. And then follow the backup with service. And so I'm taking that information now and going back to this group saying, price is one component of the equation, but we got to bring the other two. So that we can bridge that gap, or we can pull it together, so that we're all looking at the same lady. Maybe she's old, maybe she's young, but we start to understand the differences of our perception. Ben Franklin said, the bitterness of poor quality remains long after the sweetness of the low price is forgotten. Low quality, I'm stuck with that after I paid a cheap price, is forgotten. So with that, I thank you.
Tim, thank you very much. Appreciate it.